Moving on now to sales. So sales, as it says, sell your product to enterprises or to customers. So the goal is to build. So the key thing in this, though, the focus in this channel wasn't just to do sales. It was a dedicated effort and resource-rich intention around sales and building a sales team and building a sales culture. It's around mapping out a very specific sales steps and funnel. We have a worksheet for you tomorrow where you're going to be going through from when someone comes in from your free product, and then it's each step. We've actually got there exactly what you do on each step. So it's actually mapped it out for you so that when someone comes in to your business at the top of that funnel, you know exactly what needs to go on. So having that is a very important part of the sales process. The only other little comment down there is that the higher priced question, I think that was something that Jacinta, you asked earlier today, the more higher the value is, then the more hand-holding that is. If it's a 100 grand plus sale, then generally speaking, they only want the founder or the owner involved, and you got to just take them through. It's not going to be very leveraged, but it's a higher end deal. It's a bit like Adam's story about the $1.575 million deal. They're not going to want to talk to some techie that's going to do work. They want to talk to the man. Yeah. Alrighty. So I brought this example up just with Google because a lot of people think, oh yeah, they've got so much traction, so much results. Why do they need a sales team? Google, over 80% of their whole team are salespeople. Google. We sat down. Actually, Soph, remember the last year when we sat down after the little event that I did with your group? Yeah, and who's the guy that works for Google, or did his wife did? Yeah, so we sat down and asked him, I said, okay, I've heard all these stats around how many, so this is someone who works within Google Sydney, and how many people are actually salespeople? And he said it's over 80%. Salespeople, Google, they've got a pretty good rep, and yet they've got so many salespeople. Why is that? Because at the end of the day, they still need people to convert them across the line. Now, there are some businesses that may not need, if it's a what I call a low value as far as small entry price, they may not have to have salespeople. But if it's going to be anything that's medium to 10 grand plus, then chances are very, very good chance that you'll need to have a sales rep of some sort. Mo, did you want something? Yep. Stand and deliver, and you haven't introduced yourself to people, so.
Yeah, my name is Mohammed. I am a business consultant, specializes in automation, business automation.
Business automation and Infusionsoft and all that sort of stuff.
Certified partner.
Yeah.
The reason why 80% of Google employees are salespeople because they have automated most of their processes. So all of the marketing, everything, and even the customer relation. You barely can talk to anyone if you have a problem with your Gmail. You can't talk to anyone actually. Even if you are in a paid user, you can't talk to anyone. You have to submit a ticket, and someone will gonna handle it. So that's the reason why they have this number. It's not the so. If you look at the number of people, not the percentage, it's normal. It's just the other departments, they have less people.
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. So coming back here is that because the rest of the business is automated, they don't need to have people in there, and yet they still have to have salespeople. So that even heightens the reason. Like they can automate everything in the business almost, except for the sales bit.
Yeah, because it's an automation.
Because the rest of it's automated.
Yeah.
But they can't. But the thing is, they haven't automated this bit.
Because it's an emotion decision. So
exactly. That is exactly right. You hit the nail on the head, and that's why we need to have salespeople, and that's why there needs to be a focus around this. Now, this as a pure focus. Now, just around sales team. My suggestion around sales team is that if you are bringing a sales team in, some people will argue that you shouldn't have a sales team and that and that every person in your team is a salesperson, which I totally agree. Every person in your team is a salesperson for the company. There are certainly some businesses that having a dedicated salesperson is appropriate. And what I suggest, if you bring a salesperson in, you always bring in two. You don't bring in one, you bring in two. So where possible, you bring in two salespeople because then they compete against each other, and that's the nature of a salesperson. One on their own will kind of like, they'll always be king of the pile. And the other thing is there's a risk to the business owner if you're not that key salesperson, is if you get a very good salesperson, they do very well and your business relies on that, they've got you by the short and curlies. And I experienced that with one of my clients as in the printing industry. We brought people in and then all of a sudden, this person started going, well, I want a bigger percentage, I want this and this and this. So we then went in and then hired a whole stack of new salespeople. So just to keep in that mind, if you bring salespeople on, as in purely dedicated salespeople, make sure that you bring in two at a time. Cool?